We are doing number 4 in our little series of St. Vincent at Latrobe, Pennsylvania. In the previous one, number 3, we saw that the old clock tower had become the iconic image of St. Vincent. But all that changed on January 28th, 1963. There was a big fire, and the clock tower was no more. And this now, the basilica has become the image that identifies St. Vincent. And thanks to Archbishop Douglas Nowicki, the basilica has finally been finished. You see, these towers were actually never really finished, kind of like the old medieval cathedrals that took years and years to build. That's Archbishop Douglas, who had the good sense to finish those towers. I remember the first time as a kid, 13 or 14 years old, I saw the basilica, and it just looked like those towers just had never been finished. Now, that's the way the architect designed the basilica, and they got up to this point right here, and they were out of money. And so they just capped them off there, and that's the way it stayed. And so from the 1890s through the whole 20th century, the basilica was, in a very real sense, unfinished. And finally, we have it finished. That was Abbot Andrew Hintonock, who was the person in charge at St. Vincent when the basilica was begun. And that's what things looked like when construction was going on. This building sits right here. Was no more, is no more. It was a combination carpenter and machine shop, and it was said that the boards that they were working on would sometimes go from this building the whole way into the basilica. The closeness of the structures is indicated. And after the basilica was finished, this building was removed, and a new carpenter shop was built down over the hill. That shows the crowd, the crew that was working on it. And it was a really international crew. When you see the instructions for workmen, you see they were written in a number of different languages, indicating the fact you had people from different places in Europe who were building that place. And they did a good job. And we see from the air, we can look at the basilica right over here. That is the present structure. It is now the symbolic or iconic image of St. Vincent. And over the years I did a number of drawings of the place. That's one of the, actually that's a painting I did back in the 60s. That's another painting that I did. Maybe I could adjust this a bit better. Okay. That's from down in the apple orchard that I got a shot of it. That was way down by the slag piles down at St. Vincent's Shaft. I did a drawing of the basilica. And it was just a pen drawing at the time, and I more recently, with the help of computer imaging, finished it. That is the basilica sitting in back of a monument. This monument that I'm pointing out showed the original building called Sportsman's Hall that the Benedictines found when they arrived there and made use of. It was a rather crude, simple, humble building. This is a shot showing what it looked like. Now, this was that very cold day in January 28, 1963, when a lot of things at St. Vincent changed. A horrible fire happened. The old tower became a giant flue, very efficient flue. And the tower that had been the symbol of St. Vincent was no more. It was damaged to the point that it had to be removed. And as I said, the fire made a lot of changes at St. Vincent. Abbot Dennis Stripmatter had been the presiding abbot there, and that did not last long. Everything very much changed. It would take a long time to explain everything that happened, and I don't want to do that here. I'll just say that a lot of things shifted gears. This is after the fire, looking at one of the court. This is the old bandwagon courtyards, and what I'm pointing out was the old bandwagon, which was a thing that was made to haul away garbage. And you can see up here that this is after the fire, because there used to be another story up here, which is now gone. And the old sauerkraut tower in the background, when it still had its tanks on top. This shows that same courtyard after the fire. You can see this is where a temporary roof was put on. There used to be a whole new story, whole big story up there. This roof here was once upon a time a floor. There was once another story to this building. Now, in this, you see that courtyard again, and you see in the foreground a landform, which used to be the location of the original church that was at what we know as St. Vincent. And here we can see a part of that original church built in the 1830s with the big old tower in the background. And here's a photo of the old 1830s church, the tower up there. And you sometimes get a glimpse of some of the more rustic original structures. This was a hand-operated water pump. It was simple things like this that provided the original occupants there with water. Now here we see, looking down on the courtyard, you see the old and the new. In the background here you can see the top of what was the new monastery built in the 1960s after that bad fire in 1963. This is looking from the roof of the new monastery, looking over. You can see this is fire damage. All this was destroyed in the fire in 1963. You can see old Bead Hall, which is also gone now. This whole corner also is no longer present for reasons I don't know. Also, you look again, seeing old Bead Hall over here, and more of the fire damage, looking over at Benedict Hall. Now this structure was built with the name Andrew Hall. It was named for Abbot Andrew Hintonock, who had begun the basilica, and it was to be the connecting structure between the original quadrangle and the basilica. And this building, the upstairs, the upper part of it was damaged in the big fire. So the upper part of it no longer exists. It's been removed. The lower portion is still there and still serves as the monastic refectory, the place where the monks go for dinner and lunch and breakfast. You can see Andrew Hall in the background in this one. And you can see the corner tower of the quadrangle, the northeast corner, where there was a nice studio, artist studio up there that I used. This is looking out another window, showing Aquinas Hall, where the classes for the seminary were held. I did a good number of shots of the basilica. This is down by the shops. And that's from the from the tower, the northeast tower, where the artists had a studio. And that's outside, looking from down at the lake, looking up over top of the mill and looking up at the new monastery. It was built in the 60s, old sauerkraut tower, standing proudly up on the hill. The old and the new. The old monastery, the northwest corner of the old quadrangle, and the new monastery built by Tasso Katselas, the Pittsburgh architect. Every once in a while I do these off-the-wall kind of things. I called the place Wimmer City and did a view of St. Vincent as it was in 1970. Again, a shot showing the structures, the old and the new Sauerkraut Tower, the Basilica Tower, and the new monastery. Louis Chang, who was artist in residence at St. Vincent, who I was very fortunate to work with, had a friend to work with as an artist. He was a good teacher, a good man. Brother Benedict, also of happy memory, a good person. That was Abbot Egbert, who was abbot in the 60s and into the 70s. And we come to an end here, recalling the old tower that was one time the iconic image of St. Vincent and was wiped out by the big fire and made way for the new image, which is the Basilica, which now symbolizes St. Vincent and is now, fortunately, due to Abbot Douglas, it's finished. The towers have finally been capped, giving a sense that the place is now finished. And we end this and say so long.